Welcome back to Wisconsin Tonight. And on cold nights like this, it is hard to get outside for a run, but there are ways to bring outdoor activities inside. And joining us tonight is Andy Kirk of Body Mechanics Physical Therapy. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Boy, I have seen a couple people outside, but they are few and far between.
No, that's right. It's a tough one.
Yeah, so what exercises would you recommend for athletes who are used to working out outside?
Right. Well, most of the time when you're outside, you're enjoying your sport, you're enjoying your gardening, you're enjoying your golf, whatever. And you don't think about the things you need to work on in your body that could make it a better thing for you to enjoy the sport more.
Yeah.
A common thing is like trunk weakness. So
trunk weakness.
Yeah, so indoors is a great place to work on your strength.
All
and
right.
That's what you should do in the winter, is work hard on strength. So a common thing is a plank. Have you heard of a plank?
I've heard of it. I did some this morning for a minute. I got a minute in.
You're probably better at it than I am, but should I show one here?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so a plank, you know, the basic idea is to come down onto your elbows or your hands, and you can be in a position where you're neutral and you can keep your back straight, and you just do a prolonged hold. You don't necessarily do a whole bunch of reps. You sit there and hold this for a while, and then you can do things like lifting one leg at a time.
Okay.
And before you get up, you kind of switch on to one side and maybe work on this side. And of course, I'm trying to make this look easy. I have to kind of work into it gradually and hold for longer and longer periods of time, going on each side. And that's, of course, a good way to work that. A lot of people do a sit-up.
Yep.
A sit-up is something that can hurt you if you're not careful. Sit-up with a good way to do it is just do a prolonged hold with a sit-up too. Your trunk muscles are built for endurance. And so if you bring it up and kind of do a prolonged hold, once again, maybe you do a little movements with your legs, but you don't have to be thumping through a sit-up real hard, which is going to tend to hurt your back and so forth.
Good advice. All right. So, some people can't get outside either because they are homebound or whatever the case might be. Is there stuff that they can do? And people like in offices, for example.
Right. You know, most of us have a problem with having to sit too much for our work.
Exactly.
If that's your problem, you're not alone. So a chair is an environment that you're stuck in, but you can do things in your chair. If you have solid arms, you can do things like, in the office, you can do things like dips, you know, small dips like this, keeping your back straight. You can, when no one's looking, flip around and do a plank in this position perhaps, or do little mini push-ups using the arms of the chair.
Good.
Come down, do the plank this way.
Excellent, but you don't do it if it's on wheels.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Okay, there are some people who are just going to go outside no matter what. So what do those folks need to keep in mind when they're out there?
You know, the biggest thing is there's actually very few days in the year. This week's not been good, but there's very few days that you can't go out and at least walk and run or whatever. So the main thing is covering your face, of course, so you don't have to breathe the cold air, covering all your exposed skin. Wearing non-skid devices on your shoes is helpful.
For sure.
But the main thing that a runner or somebody needs to think of is when you go outside in the wintertime, and it's real cold, it doesn't take as much energy to burn the same number of calories. So lower your intensity. Don't try to build yourself up so much during the winter, just maintain. The reverse is true indoors. When you're going to exercise on a treadmill, you got to go a little harder and maybe do some harder intervals.
Good point. You're a physical therapist, so what are some of the common things that you see among patients who come in with maladies of one sort or another? In
the winter especially, well, of course, there's the 8 weeks after you unfortunately fall on the ice, you break something. We might see you for a fracture, but hopefully not. The other thing is people hurting their backs, shoveling.
Good point.
The biggest nemesis of winter is becoming sedentary, and then all the ailments you have, your sore back, your bad hip, your knee, starts to bother you more, and that's a good time to actually come get it worked on.
Good advice.
You can't be outside anyway.
Yeah. Andy Kirk, Body Mechanics Physical Therapy. Thanks a lot for coming in to join us.
Thank you.
Stay healthy and safe for the rest of the winter.
Exactly.
And if you've got questions for Andy, we've put his contact information on our website, tmj4.com/Wisconsin Tonight.